Yeah, so just prepare to...
It'll be great.
It'll be perfect.
Y'all motherfuckers don't watch us play throughout the year, to tell you the truth. I'm gonna be real with you, and I don't care if I get fined.
That must be Jeremiah with them. Shoot down.
That train is off the tracks.
Who doesn't love the bouncy castle?
Hitler.
Just prepare to... just prepare to be awash in undebeatable goodness.
Welcome, Pacers fans. You are listening to the Undebeatables, your semi-weekly Pacers podcast. Today is June 24th, 2023, and this is episode 653. Coming to you from the high school home of Jamison Brewer, Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm the doctor, Jason Triplett. This show, we're going to discuss the first game and a half of the NBA Finals and knock out a couple of Undegooglables. Joining me are two analysts, coast to coast like butter toast. First, from Asheville, North Carolina, he's our in-house bartender, mixing up the drinks and the crappy jingles. It's John Colson.
What is up, Pacer Nation? What is up, Undebeatables? So glad to see you guys. No shout-outs this week.
Yeah. Rare. So I think people in Colson's world need to treat him better.
Yeah, get it together, humanity.
Cranky.
And from Boise, Idaho, out west, it's our enforcer, John Harper.
What is going on, fellas? Give a quick shout out to Coach Frank Vogel, new coach of the Phoenix Suns.
Shout out.
Could have been worse. Could have been worse for old Coach Vogel.
Got a real chance to win a title here.
Yeah, it gets on his resume. He gets to coach LeBron James, win a title, and then coach Kevin Durant, and maybe win a title. That's not bad.
He gets good opportunities.
For sure.
He's a good coach.
All right, before we start the show, just want to remind listeners that they can support the longest-running Pacers podcast by heading over to patreon.com/undebeatables, and you can support us for as little as $1 a month, or there's higher tiers that get you access to Slack channels and pre-releases of clip shows, which are amazing. So do that. All right, boys, we're talking NBA Finals. As we are recording, since we're such good professionals, the game 2 is going on right now. Game 1 was Thursday night and was won relatively handily by the Denver Nuggets. Colson, what are you taking away from this series so far?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it in our preview pod last week. What is Miami going to do to stop Denver, and can they score enough points? They actually did a pretty good job defensively on Denver, but they couldn't score enough points. They were absolutely broken from the three-point line in the first three quarters. If a few of those go down, maybe it's a different game. You got the worst game of the playoffs from Jimmy Butler. You had Bam Adebayo as your best player, scoring 26 points on 25 shots. Everybody missed. I mean, I think all of their shooters were like 1 of 10 from the range. It was not a good first showing for Miami. I think there's hope in that they're probably not going to play worse than that. But as we're looking at this game now, they started out real hot, and then, Denver they're just so consistent offensively. They just, even if you can slow them down, they just don't bend. I mean, they bend, but they don't break. And they put a 21-point run on Miami in this, bridging the first and second quarters. Yeah, this is going to be a tall task for Miami.
Yeah, I think that's right. After the game, Michael Malone berated his team for all the open threes that they gave up. The Heat were 5 of 16 on open looks. Obviously they got some guys who can shoot, but we knew coming off that how hot they were in the last round that it just there's no way that shooting was going to hold up. Good news for Heat is that they're hoping to get Tyler Hero back, but that did not happen. I don't think that has happened tonight.
Yeah, so hopefully by game 3 in Miami.
We shall see. We shall see. They definitely need a little bit more firepower, Jason. I think you're right. It's just unclear where the points are going to come from on that Heat team. And the Nuggets just have so many weapons. I mean, you can do a pretty good job and hold them to 104, but I doubt you can do that game in and game out. And I expect the Nuggets to throw up some points tonight.
Yeah, it was interesting. The other thing that was sort of came out of game 1 was the Heat got to the line only 2 times. So they shot 100% from the line, but they were only there twice. So Jimmy Butler took 0 free throws. So I'm really intrigued to see for the rest of the series if they can sort of change that around. Because really, for them to be competitive, they got to be getting Jokic in foul trouble and slow the game down and get into, get to the line more and whatnot. Because, then the Nuggets don't have a chance to run off of misses, right? And that's when they're really, really difficult to handle. So it'll be interesting to see adjustments. Jimmy Butler was very adamant that they needed to be more aggressive and go to the basket and stuff like that. But
starting with him.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Well, and there also was the size issue. I mean, Jokic is huge, of course, but we knew that there was going to be an issue between how small Miami is versus the size and strength of Denver, and Aaron Gordon was massive in that game. He just did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, including block 3-pointers into the 7th row at one point.
Yeah. I mean, I think he
nice.
had like 7 of the first 10 points. Like he just, and then, Michael Porter Jr. just long and rangy and putting himself on Jimmy Butler made Butler's life hard. I mean, Butler could say we need to be more aggressive, but he only put up 13 points and I think that's partly from the defense.
Yeah. I mean, Jokic didn't exactly get a night off with a 27-point triple-double, but he did only have to take 12 shots off the floor, right? Aaron Gordon, I don't know. If you're the Heat, how are you letting Aaron Gordon beat you? That does not bode well, right? Michael Porter Jr. did not have a good game. He'll have a couple games in the series. Jokic was just wildly efficient, right? 27 points on 12 shots, 14 assists. I mean, yeesh.
Well, and wasn't it he only had 4 shot attempts in the first half or something like that, and his team was still up 13. Like it was just like it doesn't.
He didn't
matter.
have to, right? I mean, when you got
That's
these other guys,
a recipe for disaster if you're Miami.
I mean, it really is. I think your take on this, Colson, was that you can let Jokic do whatever he wants and just stop everybody else. Well,
that's not what they're going with.
They didn't stop anybody else.
But they didn't. But they didn't like just let him do his thing, right? Like I mean. Jokic
he did have a 27-point triple-double, and it was 8 of 12 from the floor and 10 of 12 from the line. I mean, he wasn't struggling.
I agree with that, but like 12 of those points were like in the last 4 minutes of the game. They brought him back out to seal the deal.
They just didn't need him.
Yeah.
Well,
other than being an assist.
Miami's strategy was not, when we talked about this last week, Colson, you hinted that one of the best strategies is to just let Jokic, score 50 points. Like, just don't double team him and, just let him go crazy at the basket if you want to. And they did not do that. They brought double teams from all kinds of different angles, and Jokic basically ate every one of them up.
Them apart,
which
ate
was
their lunch.
Crazy, yeah. So that'll be another adjustment. The other guy we haven't mentioned who deserves major kudos is Jamal Murray, who was very aggressive in attacking the basket, got himself to the line, I guess only twice. It seemed like more than that. But
Well, he nearly had a triple-double himself, though, right?
yeah, exactly. 26 points, 10 assists,
Just six boards.
six
but
boards.
Still.
Shot 50% from
Yeah.
the floor, which
Good
is
night.
just
Efficient.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And it's not as if Jamal Murray was, an afterthought on their scouting report. He had every intention of making his life difficult, and he went out there and yammed.
Yeah. If he's going to play like that and Jokic is doing what he's doing, like, there's just no way they don't win a title. And Jeff Van Gundy said something as the announcer at the end of the game. He was like, well, they won game one. They're only 3 games away from a title. And I don't see how they're not, one of the best teams in the league for the next 4 to 5 years. Like, this is incredible what they're doing. There's always going to be challengers, but these guys are young and they've got a core, and this is pretty impressive. You tend to wonder whether this might be, dynastic.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, obviously they got to finish business here first, right? And there's a lot of moving parts in the NBA, right? Like Porter Jr. is young and a key piece of this, but he's eventually going to, need another contract, and whether or not you are willing to, go over the tax or go over the cap and pay the tax or whatever to keep everybody together is, a question.
Well, if we need to take Aaron Gordon off their hands to make the money work, I'm fine with that.
Right. Sure.
I'm nervous about that. Yeah, sure. They're a good team. Absolutely, winning championship number 1 is priority number 1, and this stuff just gets harder when you got a target on your back, right? I mean,
For sure.
everybody comes for the king, so they're gonna have a rough road next season, even if they end up somehow losing this thing, right? I mean, people are just gonna know every night that this is the team that they need to beat and show up for. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, Jokic just makes offense seem so easy for them, and guys are cutting hard because they know they're going to pass,
yeah.
He's just
Never mind. They have, so they have Jokic is locked up through 26-27, Jamal Murray through 24-25, and Michael Porter Jr. actually signed an extension already. So he's on the books until 26-27 as well, same as Jokic.
Okay. So they got a few years
Yeah.
to run this thing back.
If you're another team in the West, you can hope they win a title and then get complacent.
Sit on their laurels.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's happened before. Who knows?
I mean, Frank Vogel's going to make Phoenix play defense, and it's going to get interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll turn DeAndre Ayton into a night in, night out superstar. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
You never know. Frank Vogel's a player's coach. He could make it happen.
Yeah, you have to be a player first.
Wow. Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. I was going to say
Shots fired.
we could make a similar comment about Hibbert, and Vogel made Hibbert into something. Mm-hmm. He was sucked before Vogel got there, and he sucked after Vogel left. So maybe this will be DeAndre Ayton's path.
I mean, if he wants to try hard, sky's the limit.
Yeah,
Hibbert,
that's what I'm saying.
Hibbert
Vogel-
tried hard.
Yeah. Shut up. He top 10 pacer of all time.
Shout out.
Shout out.
All right. Any other NBA business we want to discuss today? Any stats of the week? Or?
Well, there was another coach signing, right? Monty Williams.
Looks like Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
Oh,
Monty Williams going
Okay,
to
that makes
Detroit.
sense. Did hear about that.
Got to feel good about that. Monty Williams is an excellent coach, and Detroit needs a lot of things. They're young and bad, and a good coach will help. So, I feel good about
absolutely.
that hiring
I mean,
from
yeah,
Detroit.
I think that. And Dwayne Casey, who was their previous coach, he did a fine job, I think, with those guys.
Agree.
I mean, their goal wasn't to win basketball games; it was to get better at basketball, and I think they showed flashes of that. And kind of, I'm not sure why he got let go or not rehired or whatever the situation was, but yeah.
But yeah, I don't root for Detroit, but I root for Monty Williams, so hope there's some success there.
Feels random to me, but okay. I like it.
I'm rooting for market.
I mean, the key is
market improvement, but not better than the Pacers. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and is he going to turn Bojan Bogdanovic into an all-star? You know?
Right. Yeah, he's going to spend zero time with Cade Cunningham. All energies on Bogdanovic. Yep. Make sure he has an all-star caliber year.
Yep. That's what a good coach would do.
I mean, you got to set those priorities early.
Shout out Bogey.
Nope. Not in the top 10.
He's in top 25 though.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
Not until we trade back for him.
Oh yeah. If we trade back for him, which I got my fingers crossed for. I actually I think I lobbied for that mid-season, and then he would definitely slot into at least top 12.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they end up with like Brandon Miller in the draft and then shot Bogey to us. What do you think?
I'm all in.
Mm-hmm. I take that.
Oh, this is.
We can trade him a couple second round draft picks.
Super happy. I got really excited about this. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's ending. We're towards the end of the NBA season, so and obviously there's no Pacers basketball to talk about. We are gonna preview the draft, which is coming up sooner than you think. It will be Thursday, June 22nd. So we'll do that. We also have to hand out our Pacers specific awards, but we like to do that with a full complement of Undebeatables. So we're gonna
gotta have all four of us
table that discussion, and so we just have free play for the next 40 minutes or whatever, so we can knock out some Undegooglables. What do you got on your list there, Colson?
Oh, are we doing Undegooglables?
That was the plan.
Super excited.
You told us we had to, so.
You said we signed up for it.
In the end, it's going to be better and more true than Google can give you.
Okay, here's a good one. This is very pertinent right now in my life, because a groundhog has dug a hole right on the other side of the fence, and so the dogs are just losing their mind constantly. I stuck a rock down there, not because that's not going to kill the groundhog. The groundhog will just have to dig another hole somewhere else, hopefully further away from the fence. But my roommate says that it's not a groundhog; it's a woodchuck, and I would like to know the difference between a groundhog and a woodchuck.
But you would want to know how much wood a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Well, so her argument is that a woodchuck doesn't actually chuck wood, and that I'm just being silly because I said the exact same thing you did.
Well, of course, a woodchuck can't chuck wood. That's the whole point of the thing. Is how much if they were able to.
If
chuck
a woodchuck could chuck wood,
right?
But like, does a woodchuck eat wood like a beaver, or does it just dig holes like a groundhog?
These are very good questions, and I don't know the answer to them. My initial inclination is that they're the same thing, that a groundhog and a woodchuck are the same thing. They're clearly very closely related if they are not the same thing.
So I always thought like you think of groundhogs and you think of like a bunch of holes dug out west, right? And like the little groundhogs stick up like a prairie dog.
You're thinking of prairie dogs.
Oh no, that's a different thing than a groundhog.
Yeah.
Oh no, groundhog is what we do for groundhogs.
That's Punxsutawney Phil.
Yeah.
How is that different than a prairie dog? It's location, I suppose.
Prairie dogs are leaner and lighter in fur.
Okay.
They're smaller.
They're cute
Yeah.
little furry guys.
Groundhogs are big.
Groundhogs are big,
pretty
and that's what this thing is. It's beefy. He just hung out and like sunned in the middle of the road the other day, and like the dogs are just losing their mind. It's a big old boy.
Yeah.
In
Prairie
the middle
prairie
of the
dogs are
road?
much smaller.
Oh,
Prairie
we have
dogs
a-
are
we have a
like-
little-
Prairie dogs are like guinea pig size.
Yeah, we have a little road behind the yard that's not like a. It's not an actual through road. It's just there's fun information here. We have a trailer store or a shed store directly next door.
Tractor
And-
Supply?
Not Tractor Supply. They sell sheds and
Just straight up sheds.
yeah, and so they have a trailer that takes the sheds down the back behind our yard. That's the only reason that road exists. So there's not a lot of traffic, I suppose.
Gotcha.
So you could just hang out there all day, sunning in the middle of the road, like a groundhog / woodchuck.
But to get back to your analogy, I think is somewhat correct in that groundhogs make burrows and tunnels of things to get around. The other thing that's different, and I actually don't know this. Prairie dogs are very social, right? Like they live in huge colonies and they pair bond for life and all this stuff. And I want to say the groundhogs are solitary creatures, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
At least Puxatawny Phil is.
Right.
Yeah, doesn't have a lot of friends and
Yeah,
family.
and that groundhog from Caddyshack, that blew things up. That guy was a loner for sure.
Yeah. Like most
He was
terrorists.
like the Unabomber kind of, right? What is your
okay.
inclination, Harper? Or
I
do
don't
you
know what
think
the
they're
hell a
same thing?
woodchuck is.
Yeah, exactly. What's a woodchuck? I only know the cider.
Yeah.
Think about that picture on the woodchuck cider. Is that does
But
that
it-
look like a groundhog?
Yeah, it does. I feel like in my head, a woodchuck was always like in between a groundhog and a beaver. Like it was like something that maybe ate wood. It had slightly big teeth, but like maybe just because it said woodchuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I also assumed it burrowed. Probably didn't make dams. Like it was like some sort of.
So you think that a woodchuck, you would think based on the name is like a forest animal,
Right. I think it's
whereas a groundhog is a plains animal.
Yeah, but we've already established that prairie dogs are plains animals and groundhogs are not. They live in the forests of Pennsylvania.
Well, we established that groundhogs were not prairie dogs. That's what we established. I don't think we established the living.
Sure, but there's not a ton of
Habits.
plains and
And I have no idea if
You're correct.
Punxsutawney Phil is native to Pennsylvania or whether they just kidnapped him from,
That's right. I think that was all a publicity stunt, right? Just to make Punxsutawney a place.
So he's not
that
native?
people wanted to go to.
That's not where he grew up. It's not where he lives.
There's been like multiples of them. I don't know where they come from.
I'm aware that he didn't live for like 400 years or whatever, but like, did they just steal groundhogs? It's like a zoo. They just have like a little encampment for him and his relatives.
I don't think the groundhogs just wander up to, whatever the officials and are like, I'd be like to be the. I don't think they hold tryouts, right? So
No.
I mean, they have to get them from somewhere. I don't know where. You can
No, I
volunteer
understand.
yours. Maybe this is a good solution to your groundhog problem.
That would be awesome. Do you think it's like a Miss Groundhog pageant, and they have different like categories, and he has to do the talent, and
Sure.
they ask questions and
tap
stuff.
dance and like give us your thoughts on world peace.
They have the bikini competition. Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, no. So I mean, clearly I know that that they keep Puxatawny Phil in a small cage and is probably abused, but I assume that they like
Throwing
found
shade
him.
at the poor town of Puxatawny.
I assume they found him regionally. They didn't have to like go somewhere far away and bring him back. Like I assumed it wasn't
you
an
would
African
think
animal.
because didn't we do Groundhog Day, and it goes back to it's like a I don't know now I'm gonna forget, but it was definitely in the
Pagans.
Northeast, like early colonial days or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so that would be the Northeast.
Yeah.
And they would be native to that, I would think. So.
I mean, I suspect that groundhogs are in like lots and lots of places.
Okay.
Up and down at least up and down the East Coast. I mean, my best guess, I'm kind of with you. There's probably a geographical factor at work here if they're not the same thing, which I'm guessing that they're not. And maybe that, the woodchucks just, maybe live at higher altitudes or something. Do less
It's a
digging.
llama and alpaca.
Right.
Okay. Well, no.
The mountain woodchuck.
Woodchuck. What if
Sure.
woodchucks are west of the Mississippi or something? I don't know. It's like it's the same thing, but we just call them different things.
That could be.
Different
That could
regions.
be.
Entirely
Like
possible.
a Carl's Jr. and a Hardee's.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I think the woodchuck is the Carl's Jr. of Hardee's. Yeah.
All right, so if you Google groundhog versus, and then just let it be a blank, what do you think the top hit is for groundhog versus?
Prairie dog, I think, is the top hit.
No, that's number 4.
Oh no. Groundhog versus
Groundhog versus woodchuck is 3.
okay.
What would a woodchuck fight? Woodchuck versus cat?
Groundhog versus beaver
Beaver?
is
Okay.
number 2. Number 1, groundhog versus gopher.
Gopher.
I think gopher was in Caddyshack.
Yeah, that
Not
was a
groundhog.
gopher.
Yeah.
All right, according to pestworld.org,
I'm all in on this website.
there is
Where
no
do I
difference
send money?
between a groundhog and a woodchuck.
There you
The
go.
terms groundhog and woodchuck are interchangeable. Let's see.
Do we know how?
Yeah, so the first 2 hits are Pestworld and Terminex. Interesting. Let's go to the Massachusetts Audubon Society.
Yeah.
Woodchucks,
the woodchuck.
parentheses, groundhog.
Marmota monax belongs to the marmot family. It goes by many names, including groundhog and whistlepig due to the sound they make through their large teeth.
Whistle pig. That's an
Nice.
excellent bourbon.
It really is, and I had no idea that it was related to groundhogs.
Yeah, I
and
thought that was just a
woodchucks.
made-up name.
Yeah, right.
Whistling pigs. Yeah.
Wow.
So why does this stupid thing have so many names?
Right. That's what I want to know.
I mean, they just must be everywhere, and so everybody just like came up with their own name.
Yep. And it seems like they're real pains in the asses. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's see. And a gopher is a rodent of some kind, not a groundhog / woodchuck. Both are rodents. Groundhogs are bigger, stockier, and hibernate in winter. Interesting.
One of the few true hibernators found in Massachusetts.
Cool.
They sleep away the winter.
There you have it. They're the same.
I guess it's just the situation that everybody has things in their backyard that drives their dogs crazy, and so they just named them something different.
No, the human or the English language wasn't confusing enough, so we thought we'd throw 8 names on the same thing.
Right. All right. Fair enough. Here we go.
Yeah, and Punxsutawney Phil is local, and to remind us of our groundhog. So, Groundhog Day was brought over by Germans that settled in Pennsylvania, but back in Germany they used hedgehogs, but they had to use local fauna, so they went with the groundhog.
Okay. So
Candlemas Day.
I've got A to Z animals as a very good explanation. The English called these creatures groundhogs, but the Algonquin name for a groundhog is Wuchach. I'm assuming I'm saying that exactly correct.
Yep.
And this name was likely adapted by English settlers. groundhogs do not chuck wood, and that has nothing to do with that because it actually comes from the Algonquin. Woodchuck.
Woodchuck. That makes sense.
There you go. That's why they have the same name. White people saying one thing and not listening to natives. That makes a lot more sense.
Well, strangely, we did listen to them.
And then came up with the wrong thing.
And we had a name for it, and then we listened to them and decided to say they just weren't just wrong.
Yes, that's exactly
that was
what
the
happened.
play.
That's I gotta love white people.
Yeah, we're awesome.
We're awesome. Okay, nice work, team.
Yeah, well done. All right, who wants to go next? Harper, you've got a list. I've got a list. You got one that's been
I don't
burning
know where
in
my
your
list
brain?
is. Although I did hear one yesterday, and I don't know. Maybe you guys have a feeling about this. I was watching some racing, and the announcer was talking about a guy trying to pass him. He's like, "Oh, he's out there. He's trying his damnedest." And I thought to myself, "What?" I've heard it a million times. I probably said it a million times. But when I stopped to think about it, I was like, I have no idea what this word means.
His damnedest.
Damnedest.
Like, how did we make a superlative form of damned? And why?
That's a good point. And what is your interpretation of what damnedest means?
So definitely
What is
trying
that
our
level of
damnedest is
effort?
trying our hardest. So, my thought was that this could somehow be, trying so hard that, maybe we're willing to break the rules and for that reason would be damned.
Well, that's interesting. That's what my inclination was the same, but it's also you're just throwing the kitchen sink at things. You're just willing to try anything at this
Sure.
point. And so maybe, yeah, that's it. It goes to that. I don't know. What do you think, Colson?
Yeah, no, I actually have never really thought about the phrase. It's one of those things that just kind of washes over you. Are you trying so hard you're willing to be damned? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems to be. It's kind of what we're thinking, right?
Are there other words that are past tense superlatives?
Never heard one. It's
That
got to
is
be
very
Shakespeare,
weird.
right? Because who else is going to do that?
Damnedest. And we assume that it's damn, like the curse word D-A-M-N, right?
Well,
Damnedness.
I mean, damned isn't a curse word, right? If you're damned.
Well, right. I mean, I just meant
Right, but I mean, say,
the biblical damning.
But you say, if you say damn as a curse word, I suppose it's
Like
shortening.
damnation.
It's short for God.
Damned
right?
is the past tense of damn, which is apparently a curse word. But somehow, if it's past tense, it's not a curse word. I mean, that's in and of itself completely mysterious to me.
Well, I think the reason is because there's separation, right? So I think if you say damn, it's shortening technically for goddamn, right? And so that's why it's a curse. But saying
So
damn,
you can't, God damned is very much a curse word in use.
yeah. I suppose I suppose if you say goddamned, I guess it just depends on how you use it. Yeah.
Heard that a lot growing up.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Now it's just now that's just past tense for. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you make it more. We made it more.
Yeah, because I think you could say damn or damned in not a curse way.
When do you guys think people started saying damnedest? Like, is this an Appalachian, or rural sort of mutation of a word that they?
I do like
has
that.
been,
Like I was thinking Shakespeare.
like they just
'cause
threw
there's,
est on for the heck of it,
Right. I think that's a really good guess. Like I said, I was leaning Shakespeare just because like it's a weird turn of phrase.
And it does sound. I mean, it sounds old timey as well. So
Yeah.
I could totally buy that.
But sometimes those homespun Appalachian things do too.
Well, are there other phrases in which we say damnedest? instead of try my damnedest.
Yeah, you say the
right?
damnedest thing, you know?
Oh, okay, sure.
You do say
You
the
do
damnedest
say
thing.
that. Yeah.
And in that context, it means something completely different than try your damnedest.
Yeah, and in that case, it's just strange or out of the ordinary.
It's just the
right?
most
It's-
outlandish
Most outlandish
thing.
thing, right?
And well, actually, I mean, that could work, right? Trying your
Which I guess
damnedest.
jives with the throw everything
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the kitchen sink in.
Exactly,
Which is-
right.
Yeah. So it's the most extreme thing, and extreme things get you put in hell, basically, is the idea.
Yeah. I assume this comes out. I mean, I was going to say out of a religious period in human history, but that would be all of them. So I've got no. I was trying to give a time
So
period
yesterday,
for it.
or
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to give a time period for it, and I got nothing. I like Shakespeare as an idea, but I don't know if it works in iambic pentameter well enough.
maybe it's from a sonnet. You don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
It's
Maybe
it's a very romantic.
Christopher
saying.
Marlowe wrote this one.
Yeah,
Just stole it.
exactly. It's part of the Marlowe collection.
All right. So we got a timeline. Anybody before we look this up?
I'm going to Appalachia, but
I like that. But when like
so like early
1800s?
19th century. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right. I guess I'm gonna go 1790 England.
Okay.
Okay. According to dictionary.com, first recorded 1820 to 1830.
So, what did you say, Jason? You said early 1800s?
Yeah.
Early 1900. Or yeah,
No,
early.
you said
1800s.
early.
You said early
Yeah,
19th century, I think.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you nailed that.
You nailed this. Yeah.
I don't know about
Well,
the
that's the first
Appalachian element.
recorded.
All right. What do we got here?
Means utmost or best.
Informal, vulgar.
And these are just definitions. I need an origin.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with the origin. Maybe I just...
But we got the definition correct.
That's good. We speak our own language fluently. We learn that a lot on the show. It's reassuring.
Right.
All right, it's time to employ the AIs.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah. ChatGPT, help us out. Yeah. It's. I'm seeing that damned at some point became an intensifier, and so damnedest was a logical outspring of that, I guess.
Bard thinks that it was first recorded in print in 1596.
Whoa.
Footnote required.
So damn itself comes from Old French, but the ultimate source is the classical Latin damnare, or dampnare, meaning to damage or condemn. And in Middle English, according to the OED, damn had three related meanings: to doom, eternal punishment, pronounce a sentence, or denounce or deplore. It goes back as early as 1325. The word damn, not damnedest.
Right. What was the date you gave?
That was 1325.
1325. Okay.
Uh,
I'm seeing 1820 as well for the first recorded.
Yeah, ChatGPT thinks American, late 19th, early 20th century. Yeah, I don't. There's not much on this.
Huh.
No,
This seems very, very colloquial, which I think means it's Appalachian, and therefore we're just going to give it to Jason.
Right.
Yep, nailed it.
Yeah, it gets. Yeah, I'm getting the weird websites here. I need to probably stop.
Yeah. I've gone through the first 3 tiers, and we're starting to get into untrustworthy sources.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Shakespeare.
It was not Shakespeare. We're gonna give this one to Jason. We're going to Appalachia.
Awesome. All right, you guys got one more in you?
You said you got one, right?
I got one that's been sticking in my craw for a while.
Yeah, we know the answer to that.
Did we do why floors are stories?
No.
I don't think so. We talked about it, but I don't think we actually answered that one.
I remember there was one that I threw things out, and then you guys did one, but I left because I was too tired. But all right, so this comes from at one point I was having a conversation with somebody. We were probably house hunting at the time or something like that, and said, "Oh yeah, we looked at this house. It was a 3-story whatever," and immediately was like, "Why in the world do we call them stories? Like, this building is 13 stories tall."
So I've never thought about this. My initial reaction is that it is completely separate from the way that we understand stories, right? That it's got a root in something Latin, or I don't know. That's my initial thought.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've been pondering this, and I can't even come up with a hypothesis.
Yeah, right. It feels like it's just going to be some super random thing, right?
Yeah. Unless it's something, stonemasonry related.
Well, what about you think about a storefront,
okay.
This is it's somewhere along the line, the idea that this was 4 stores high.
Okay.
We just stacked stores on top of each other because they used to only be one store, one floor, I suppose.
Okay.
I like this a lot.
And I don't know. That's all I got.
And somebody was just joking around and called it, instead of 4 stores high, 4 stories.
That's where it falls apart, Jason. Thanks for pointing that out.
Well, no, store ends with an E, so perhaps story was the way you used to pronounce
instead
it.
Instead of 4 stores high. Yeah.
It's a 4-story, level.
It's 4 store-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, how long do you think people have been referring to floors as stories?
Well, okay, I don't think we were talking about levels of a castle. I think you just had a castle, right? So, I think this has to be.
When do we start getting multiple level? Not even domiciles, but
businesses.
Businesses or apartment buildings. I would imagine that the first would be, a shopkeeper builds their house above their storefront.
Okay, so that's their second store.
Maybe, yeah, or that's where they store their goods. Or,
it could be stores and store goods. Yeah, that might track.
So what era would that be? I mean, I feel like everything was one story for a long time.
Yeah, because why would you build up until you had dense? I remember seeing pictures of London Bridge in the Middle Ages, and I feel like it was 2 stories there. But you wouldn't start building up. There's no reason to build up
so you run out of room.
You run out of room, right?
it creates all
Greeks-
types of architectural problems, right?
It does.
Well, I
The
guess the
Greeks and the
Romans
Romans
had like
could do it.
for sure.
Did they have a lot of 2-story spots?
Well, they did it for like big buildings, right? Like civic centers,
Well,
and there's
palaces.
the agora is 2 levels, like in
Yeah.
in Athens, for sure.
Okay.
Colosseum's freaking gigantic. So
Yeah.
Well, then what's the...
churches are huge with multi levels.
There's not a lot of...
But again, I don't think you refer to those
They
as
got
stories.
basements.
You know,
I feel like they have like second stories in a lot of churches back in the day. I don't know.
you definitely have like a balcony at least.
Yeah,
right?
you have
Yeah. You have balconies and stuff. Sure.
balconies and bell towers, and I mean, there's lots
you
of
had all
upward
that, for
building.
sure.
There's plenty of technology.
They were trying to reach the
Right.
the
Yeah,
heavens.
the purpose here is
Yeah.
that there's plenty of there's plenty of ability to put second stories on stuff,
Okay.
Right.
right? Whether or not they were doing it, probably has more to do with how much land people had. But if you owned a piece of land and you wanted more space on it, I mean, you build up. Right?
That's a good point.
Sure. In the churches thing, they were definitely, their whole thing was try to reach the heavens, right? Scrape the sky sort of stuff. It wasn't to like...
Well, maybe if you're a farmer, you would rather build up.
Well, you've got a second story
build
where you
out.
leave your hay, in your barn.
Right.
Yeah, but you also
And-
you might more readily build down. I mean, it may be easier to dig than
Depends on where you are, I guess.
yeah. And also, it's cooler down there. It has some storage benefits,
Sure.
but it
For your
depends on where
root
you are
cellar.
relative to the water table.
Yeah.
Could this come from like Amish then? At some, they like to raise barns and houses and whatnot.
They do.
Maybe you spin a yarn,
Yeah.
tell a story.
yeah. I mean, maybe architects, see this as a, visual art medium. Maybe they're telling stories, and
Every floor is a story.
every floor is a story. I mean, everyone comes on this like own page, right? When you do your drawings.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm gonna say, okay, I like this idea. I think that the Latin for store and for story have the same root, and we just have to connect the dots somewhere. And then we get stories. Like, I mean, a story in a book, and then like a storefront. And then somehow we get to the answer.
I feel like the Masons are involved somehow, and I don't know why.
Yeah, the Masons are always involved. I mean, we may not be able to prove it, but we
That's
know
the thing. You
Sure.
can't find that on the internet, though.
Sure.
That's truly undegoogleable.
What's your best guess, Harper?
So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go like 1600s. I'm gonna go England, and I'm gonna say, it has something to do with storefronts. I like
Yeah.
that.
I do like that one as well. Yep. All right.
Have we thought about the connection to Estonia?
I have not.
Astoria. It's a
All
different
right.
place.
I don't know if I trust this site at all, but according to leading Britain's conversation.co.uk, it says that back in the era of kings and queens, the floors of a castle were used for storage during sieges. Each floor would be used to store various different items, including weapons and food. The floors were referred to as stories. Here spelled S-T-O-R-E-Y-S.
Well,
Let's go to the straight dope.
Bard thinks that in the Middle Ages, many buildings featured painted windows or walls that depicted scenes from stories. These painted narratives were often referred to as stories. The term story eventually came to be applied to the levels of the building itself.
Another theory. Etymologists speculate that story came from some lost word stairy, perhaps related to the Gaelic stayed here for a flight of stairs, or possibly from something along the lines of stagery, derived from stage. Others dismiss these as being obviously born of desperation, and for a time the experts settled on the Old French estorie, a thing built. Let's see.
See, that's what I'm getting to, that it's a thing built from the Old French.
Doubts arose when researchers dug up such phrases as una historia octo fenastarum, a story of 8 windows, from medieval Latin history books. Historia meant history or story, and by the Middle Ages had acquired the meaning of picture. So the charming notion arose that medieval folk were in the habit of installing rows of windows in their buildings called stories that were decorated with paintings or sculpture. So this is your thing, Harper. Theories that these stories, for which anybody knows may actually have told a story, eventually came to signify a level of a building. Apparently, as evidence of this practice, the authors of the Morris Dictionary of Words and Phrase Origins cite the fact that they once visited a Swiss-style hotel decorated along these lines in Lake Placid, New York. What?
That all sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
What I've got is French, Old French estor means to erect, construct, or build, and that each level on top would be estor. We also get that from, we also get restore from that, because it's to make firm, essentially, is the
That's interesting. What side are you on with that?
I am on etymology, etymology, so etymonline.com.
That's good. It's interesting that if it were that clear, they're the only ones with that dope.
Right.
See, LiveJournal has something on.
It seems like it's a...
So stores are not only places in which goods or merchandise are sold, but places of deposit, as in storehouse. Common parlance of the two words have distinct meanings. We speak of shops as places in which merchants pursue their trades, as a carpenter's shop, a blacksmith shop, or a shoemaker's shop. While if we refer to a place where goods and merchandise are bought and sold, whereas by wholesale or retail we speak of it as a store. It's basically talking about the different types of stores, I guess. Looks like 1630s for store bought. Yeah, this is a lot. Looks like 1300s. 1300s Old French is what I'm getting for erecting a story on top of something else.
So it's either that or the picture thing.
Yeah. The picture thing seems fairly apocryphal to me, but whatever.
Well,
Sure.
They both do, but there's actually, it seems like there's more references from
That.
on that one than
Yeah.
the French thing, even though that seems more straightforward.
Right. Well, there you go. The more you know or don't know.
Da, 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 da. All right.
I've got one more real fast thing, and this isn't something
Okay.
we can Google, but it's been on my mind. I got in a debate, with my good friend and Patreon Mike Morrow, and I don't know that there's an online answer to this, but I wanted your guys' opinion. Is chili a soup?
Is chili a soup?
More of a stew.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a stew and a soup?
Thickness.
Yeah. Viscosity.
Okay. So basically, a soup is more liquidy.
Yep.
Like, what about a clam chowder? Like, that's a soup.
See, now you're getting borderline. Yeah.
I guess that's a chowder.
It's a chowder.
It's a chowder.
It's a chowder. So what's a soup then?
So, I mean, a soup doesn't use a roux and is liquid based. Right?
So it's just like chicken noodle.
Yeah. So it would use a stock, presumably, but not a roux.
Okay. And a roux would have flour in it. Is that correct?
I generally butter and flour is how you make a roux for thickening purposes, most
Okay.
commonly. But you can use oil or other
Cornstarch
fats.
could work.
Yep.
Okay. Chili doesn't use a roux.
No, nor do all stews, but chowder does.
Right.
Stews are normally cooked down.
So it's reduced, is what you would say, to make it thicker. Would that be the difference between a soup and a stew?
Yep.
The length
Reduction.
of time that it cooks,
Okay. All right. I like
perhaps.
that. Okay. And then chili somehow is a stew because it is reduced.
I mean,
Yeah. And I think it's like, yeah.
I mean,
don't
because
know.
it's essentially
It's
it's
like the
almost a
ratio
meat
of-
sauce. It's almost like a
Right.
you know
It's almost like a sloppy Joe.
yeah or a spaghetti
Very
topping.
thick marinara. Yeah.
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 So you wouldn't consider it a soup, maybe not even a stew. It's just a chili.
I mean, if you go to a restaurant and you look on a menu and they have a subsection called soups, I would not be offended if chili was in the soups section. You know what I mean? Because it's a thing that comes in a bowl that you scoop and.
I mean,
with a
chili is
spoon.
a very specific kind of dish, right? Like it has its own,
Right.
its own things that make it what it is, right? So it's a regional dish, right? So I assume it takes its name from, somewhere in Central South America or something. Maybe, I don't know. When did we make up chili?
And where? Yeah, I like Central America.
yeah.
I like that. That's good.
That sounds right. It sounds like a Central American version of a stew.
Yep.
That Texas stole.
So soup can be, according to all recipes, soup can be completely liquefied or consist of other elements that are fully submerged. Stew, meanwhile, is typically chunkier. It contains just enough liquid to cover the ingredients.
Okay. And what about chili?
Chili is its own effing thing.
Chili is often considered a type of stew, according to delish.com.
Yeah, I'm getting. Although many people think chili is its own category, it is technically a stew. And its origins are of Tex-Mex.
Yeah, that sounds
Solid.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so, and did we decide that they're basically just saying it's the amount of liquid, but that would be changed by reduction, right? Reducing the liquid would make it a stew. So our answer was correct, is what I'm saying, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So chili is not a soup. Chili is a stew. Got a clear answer on that one from the internet. Thank you, Google.
And thank you for listening to this nonsense. We got to get out of here and catch the fourth quarter of this basketball game. So between now and next week, when maybe there will be basketball, I don't know, you can hit us up on Twitter, we are at Undebeatables. On Facebook.com/The Undebeatables. We have a website, theundebeatables.com, with a contact form there where you could email us, shoutout@theundebeatables.com. And yeah, if you're at that website, buy a t-shirt.
For the architect, Donnie Walsh, and our once and always Hall of Fame coach, Bobby Sickleonard. Turn out the lights, the party's over.